Welcome to the Montgomery County High School Football Show with your hosts, Main Street Clarksville sports editor Brady McAtamney and Robertson County Connection sports reporter David Wilson. The Montgomery County High School Football Show is brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville. They are committed to serving the community by providing a superior standard of care to all of their patients. Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville. Stop by their Wilma Rudolph location today and grab one of their signature sushi rolls and listen to some classic rock hits. C-Wraps of Clarksville. Whether you're in need of a new color change to your vehicle or would like a new wrap to advertise your business, C-Wraps has the knowledge and expertise to get you back on the road in style. Danielle Stack at Farmers Insurance. If you're in the market for new auto, home, life, business, renters, or even pet insurance for your fur baby, Danielle can secure you with a personalized plan that fits all of your needs. And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Now, here are Brady McAtamney and David Wilson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Montgomery County Football Wrap-Up Show. My name is Brady McAtamney, the sports editor for Main Street Clarksville. As always, here with my co-host, David Wilson, sports reporter at the Robertson County Connection. David, how we doing?
I'm doing well, Brady, but I don't like the shirt that you got on your chest right now.
Hey, they beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-6 this week, but hey, your Packers are celebrating a victory Monday as well, so you can't feel too bad, right?
I mean, a 17-point come from behind victory in the fourth quarter. Never can complain about those, but we got a showdown on this Thursday with you guys, so we might have to put an interesting wager on that game.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys can follow along on Twitter. I'm sure we'll have something going on maybe Thursday night or Friday, David and I, so follow along there. I'm Brady_MSP on Twitter. David's on there as well, so follow along. But David, we got some Montgomery County football to talk about here. So where do you want to start?
We do, and we are going to talk about one of the best teams in the state so far this year. It is the Clarksville Wildcats. They picked up a convincing win this past Friday night over Dickson County with a final score of 38-10. Our Clarksville High School football segment is brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville. The Bone and Joint Group is committed to serving the community by providing a superior standard of care for all their patients. Give them a call today at 931-905-1001. Should anybody have any doubts about this Clarksville team and their legitimacy for a chase for a gold ball this year?
No, I don't think they should. A gold ball is tough because, they'll have to go through teams like Oakland and Maryville. So a state championship, it's their goal, of course, and it should be, but that's kind of a long way away at this point. But as far as their legitimacy in being, a top 25 team in the mid-state at this point, maybe higher, no, there should not be any doubts at this point. I know that their schedule to this point has been, not as strong as some other teams. They're not playing some of those Sumner teams or Williamson, Rutherford teams, but they've absolutely dominated everybody that they've played up to this point. Nobody has played them close at all. Their closest win was this past week against Dickson County, and that was a 28-point win. So if their closest game is by 4 touchdowns, no, I don't think that there should be any doubts at this point. And Dickson County is a good football team. We talked last week about, hey, Dickson County is probably the toughest test that they face at this point because while they did beat the snot out of Springfield and Hopkinsville at this point, maybe they're looking down at this point. I know Springfield's got a big win this past week, and they've gotten some big wins up to this point. But Dickson County, they had just beaten Kirkwood, handed Kirkwood their first loss. So people were saying, maybe Dickson County is a pretty good team, and I think that they are. I think that Dickson County is a pretty solid team. They're going to be a playoff team this year, but Clarksville High came in and quelled any doubts about, maybe Dickson County spoiling the undefeated season for Clarksville High at this point. Clarksville still got 4 games to play out on their schedule, and they're going to face a tough team in Rossview, who we'll talk about kind of later on here. But this team is looking like they could go absolutely undefeated at this point. And if you ask me, I think that they probably will go undefeated for the first time in almost 80 years, which is insane. They've only had 1 undefeated season ever. But with the way that they're playing, with some of the talent that they've got, and of course the amazing coaching, of course that starts with Isaac Shelby. I don't think anybody at this point should have any doubts about Clarksville High.
Yeah, moving right along, a team that started 4-0 was the Kirkwood Cobras, but they've dropped 2 in a row. The latest defeat coming last week versus Rossview by a final score of 31-0. Our Kirkwood High School football segment is brought to you by C-Wraps of Clarksville. Whether you're in need of a new color change to your vehicle or like a new wrap to advertise your business, C-Wraps has the knowledge and expertise to get you back on the road in style. So give them a call today at 931-551-5255 for a free estimate. What's happening to the Cobras after their hot start to start the year?
I think that they're just facing better teams at this point. You know, they started the season going up against teams like Sycamore, Northeast, Northwest, Montgomery Central. And while it was an awesome story to see them going 4-0 against that schedule, those are also not very good teams. And I think Kirkwood is kind of in between bad and good. You know, I think they're kind of just, as the kids would say, kind of mid at this point. Of course, they have a lot of young players. A lot of these guys playing together for the first time, coming between Rossview, Northeast, and maybe some other places. Chad Watson has done a great job coaching this team. I mean, to start 4-0, even against some not very good teams, that is, you know, that's worth something. You know, that is worth celebrating for Kirkwood. But going against Dixon, who, you know, I just talked about with CHS being a pretty good team, and going against Rossview, who outside of Clarksville High is the hottest team in the county right now. They've kind of just run into a wall. They've kind of gotten a little bit of a taste of what some of these good teams are like. And with it being such a young roster, I think that's just kind of they've kind of been taken maybe a little bit by surprise at this point. Now, do I think that this is the end of the world for Kirkwood? No, I don't think so. I think this is just kind of them getting a little bit of a wake-up call. I think they are frustrated after this past game. I was on their sideline during that Rossview game, and there were frustrations. I mean, and rightfully so, because, you know, getting shut out against kids that some of you used to play with, against your former coaches, that's never going to be fun. I mean, come on, nobody wants to undergo that kind of thing. But I do think that they still are a team that could get into the postseason. They can still potentially slide into probably the 4 seed, because I think those top 3 seeds are probably solidified, with Clarksville High being number 1 and either Rossview or Dixon at 2, with the other coming at 3. But Kirkwood, I mean, it was their goal from the start of the season. They want to get into the postseason, because the only team first year to do that was Nolensville, and they want to be able to put their name alongside Nolensville. They also want to finish with a over 500 record, and I do still think that they can do that. You know, games coming against still with Kenwood and some other teams that I think that they could potentially beat. Now they'll still have to face Clarksville High and Clarksville High and West Creek, which will be tough matchups. But overall, I do think it's just Kirkwood kind of getting maybe a taste of what some of the better teams in the area are like after facing a bit of an easier schedule to start the year.
To a team that's really struggled to start the high school football season, Montgomery Central with another loss this week, still looking for their first win of the year. They lost to Whites Creek by a final score of 26-22. Our Montgomery Central high school football segment is brought to you by Daniel Stack at Farmers Insurance. If you're in the market for a new auto, home, life, business, renters, or even pet insurance for your fur baby, Danielle can secure you a personalized plan that fits all your needs. So give her a call today at 931-553-1493. Did Montgomery Central have any chance to pull a win in this game?
David, they absolutely did. In fact, for the second time this season, Montgomery Central led in the final minute of the game against Whites Creek here. They also had a similar case against Creekwood. So if they're going up against teams with Creek in their name, they could have a bad time. But unfortunately, they did lead 22-20 in the final minute of this game. And with about 52 seconds left, Whites Creek scored, and Montgomery Central was unable to come back and win the game. Now, I do want to point out that Montgomery Central was down by 2 scores at one point in this game. So they did have a big comeback to come back and take the lead late in this game. I mean, that does show something. It counts for something, I would say, to be able to, start kind of slow, but then come back and, show a little life there. Some teams might beat down by 2 scores there, especially on the road. And Whites Creek is playing on their brand new turf field for the first time. They want to come out of that turf, that brand new turf field with the win. Those guys are playing spirited football. So it does say something about Montgomery Central that they were able to come back and take that lead and almost win that game. But it's that they say about almost, horseshoes and hand grenades, right? So it is very unfortunate for the Indians, because I do think that this might have been their last potential win on the schedule. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, but they did have a chance to win this game, and unfortunately it fell by the wayside.
Brady, let's transition from a team still looking for its first win to a team that's had 4 straight shutouts the last couple weeks. Rossview picked up a 31-0 win over Kirkwood. We mentioned them a little earlier. Our Rossview High School football segment is brought to you by Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville. Start by their Wilma Rudolph location today and grab one of their signature sushi rolls and listen to some classic rock hits. That's 4 straight shutouts, as I mentioned, for the Hawks. What's been so impressive about this recent streak that they've been on?
Yeah, so even though they do have some shutout wins over teams who have struggled this season, these are still teams that are trying to score and trying to win. So to be able to shut those teams out is very impressive. Teams like Northeast, who they shut out, scored 2 touchdowns against Henry County, scored 2 touchdowns against Green Hill. And as we know, those are 2 really good football teams. Kirkwood, who they just shut out this week, was averaging 36 points a game coming into this week. And, they scored over 40 points in their first 3 games. So, this is really impressive what Rossview's defense is doing. And during that Kirkwood game, I was actually on the sideline, and toward the end of the 3rd quarter, I was like, man, are they actually going to do this? So I started to do a little sideline research. I went back to all their seasons and looked, had they ever had this many shutouts in a row? And no, they hadn't. This is the first time they've shut out even 3 opponents in a row, which was something I didn't think to look about when they did do that. But obviously the 4 straight shutouts is a new school record. In fact, 4 shutouts in a season is a new school record. And it's the first time they've won 4 straight games since 2020. And that was a pretty good 2020 squad. So what they're doing this season, especially after losing a bunch of kids to Kirkwood, is really, really impressive. And Todd Hood and the Hawks deserve all the credit for what they've been doing. And overall, I think they have a chance to potentially get a home playoff game for if they can continue what's been going on here.
We'll take our first commercial break here in the Montgomery County Football Show. Coming up, we'll talk about Clarksville Academy and Kenwood right after this.
When it comes to insurance, you want a name you can trust. Wendy Danielle Stack is here to help. With over 7 years of experience, Danielle and her team are here to assist you in finding the right coverage for all of your needs. From auto and home to life and business insurance, we have customized options for everyone. We'll work with you to create a personalized plan that protects everything in your life that matters most. Call today and see for yourself why Danielle Stack is the go-to insurance agent in Clarksville.
Meet Dr. Casey Sigerson of the Bone and Joint Group, Clarksville's only hand and wrist specialist. He's passionate about getting his patients back to living their life after suffering from an injury or degenerative condition. Dr. Sigerson treats all orthopedic conditions, from injury to recovery, and is dedicated to getting his patients moving again. Whether you need joint arthroscopy, joint replacement, fracture care, or help with a hand or wrist problem, Dr. Sigerson is here to help. Schedule your appointment today at boneandjointgroup.com.
Here at Rock and Roll Sushi, we're proud to be the original American-style sushi restaurant founded on great food and rock and roll music, boasting concepts and flavors that are big, bold, and loud. We're the only place to experience the rock you love and the rolls you love with the ones you love. Come see for yourself why we're the best sushi experience in town. Find us at 108 Morris Road in Clarksville or visit our website at rockandrollsushi.com. If you're looking for a color change, look no further than C Wraps. We're Clarksville's premier vinyl wrap provider, delivering high-quality work and exceptional customer service. We offer a wide range of services, including color change wraps, ceramic coating, paint protection film, and wraps for commercial vehicles. Whether you need a color change on a luxury car or commercial wraps for your business fleet, we have the expertise to handle any project. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
You really good try.
There aren't any cops around.
I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Cover your name, sir. You are right now.
Welcome back to the Montgomery County Football Show. I am David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, joined by your man, Brady McAtamney, sports editor for Main Street Clarksville. Brady, let's move right along. Let's talk about Stedman Bell and the Clarksville Academy Cougars. A 41-7 loss this past Friday night to Collinwood. Do you have any advice for the Cougars moving forward?
Yeah, man, I know it's tough right now, especially for Stedman Bell. I mean, this is his first head coaching gig. He came here from Nashville Christian, which is a program that all they really do is win. So I know it's got to be frustrating for him and his staff, and especially his players. I mean, losing games like this, especially games, where they feel like maybe they could win going into it, I know that's got to be frustrating. So my advice, just stick with it, because as everyone knows, this is a process. You don't just come right in, especially with a team like Clarksville Academy, who lost so much talent. And of course, a head coach like Scott Murray, who is doing a lot of winning right now. It's a process. The whole thing, you think back to the Philadelphia 76ers, trust the process. That's what you got to be doing at this point. And I know that they know that, but, I just wanted to reinforce, what they're thinking and say, this is going to be, this will pass, this too shall pass. And I do think that they do have a chance to build something at Clarksville Academy, because they've done it before. They've won before. And I think they definitely have a chance to do it again, especially coming from Nashville Christian. Like I said, he knows how to win. He's done it before. So there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel, I believe. They got a really young team this year, so you keep building that up, work in the off season. And I do think that there's a chance for them to come back stronger. Don't punt on this season. Keep it going. Keep trying to learn with every game. And I know it's frustrating, but stay strong. I know you guys can do that.
Kenwood, no game this past week. They had their bye week for the season, but what's coming up for those guys moving forward?
Yeah, so this week they've got a chance to win their first game this week against Northeast. So two teams who are searching for their first wins this season. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. Of course, we'll talk about that upcoming in our segment where we preview each game. But they've got winnable games coming up, Northeast and Northwest, both coming up on the schedule. So they do have a chance to get those wins. At this point, a playoff berth is maybe unlikely with how they've scuffled to start the season. In hindsight, maybe those first couple games against really, really good football teams like Franklin Road Academy and East Nashville and Clarksville High, their third game, maybe that killed some confidence for them. I'm not sure. I'm not in that locker room. But I know Jarrett Sneed is a good football coach. I know that he's and they did just play Hillsborough in their last game before the bye week. So he plays a lot of really, really good football teams. I mean, those are 4 top 25 caliber teams for our MSP top 25 poll. But I do think that they've got a couple wins coming up, and I look forward to seeing if they're able to pull those off.
Northwest was back in action this past Friday night, and they lost to West Creek by a final score of 34-8. What's next for Northwest moving forward?
Yeah, like I said, with Kenwood, there are potentially wins coming up. I'm not totally sure if I'm able to say the same for Northwest. These guys are really struggling. It's been a tough ride. I mean, being able to score against West Creek, who has a pretty good defense, maybe that's a good sign for them. Maybe it's a good sign that things are potentially turning a corner. Maybe that they're getting a little bit better. But it's been a really, really tough season for Northwest at this point. They've struggled to score a lot of the time, and when you struggle to score and you struggle to get stops, it's tough to get wins naturally. Ray Pena is a great guy, and he knows what he's doing with coaching. But Northwest is a tough place to build a program. I mean, they've struggled for years, and it kind of comes with that transient nature of the school, with a lot of military kids moving in and out. And when you haven't really built a winning program, in the last decade plus, like that's happened at Northwest, there hasn't been a lot of stability there. I hope that Coach Pena is able to stick around and potentially build something there, because having a winning program at Northwest would do wonders for this city. People kind of look at the city right now and think, man, Clarksville area is not so hot right now. But if Northwest is able to build on that, a lot of the other schools in the area have had pretty great seasons recently, but unfortunately can't say the same for Northwest. So I am hoping that they can, potentially turn that corner, stay strong throughout the year, maybe get a win this year, and look ahead.
Northeast faced really one of the talented teams in the mid-state or Middle West Tennessee, this area this past week in Henry County. Henry County picking up the 52-14 win. Could this game, could have been more frustrating for them, or what do you see from this matchup?
Yeah, so Northeast and Henry County, like a lot of schools in the area with Henry County, is a big rivalry. Maybe it's hard to say that because Henry County just kind of smashes every Clarksville area team, so maybe it's hard to call it a rivalry. But what I can tell you is these guys don't like each other. And I can say that I did get a message from a follower on Twitter on Friday night saying that there was a little bit of a melee in this game. After a Northeast opponent kind of stripped a Henry County player after he may have been down, ran it actually out of his own end zone, which, it happens, I guess. But after that, maybe some pushing and shoving between these teams. Of course, getting blown out is never fun. Unfortunately, it's happened a couple times with Northeast this season, but I think especially with it coming against Henry County in a matchup that, just in recent years, these two have played some more competitive games than this one. Maybe not super competitive, but not quite as much of a blowout, especially, and they've played in the postseason too. So that's a thing as well. But yeah, I think losing to Henry County in this fashion in a game where tempers might have been flaring, I do think it's probably pretty frustrating for these kids.
West Creek picked up a much-needed win this past Friday night, a 34-8 victory over Northwest. Does this win tell you anything about West Creek?
With this win against Northwest, it kind of tells me that they're not in that bottom tier of schools in the area. Bless you. But it does tell me that maybe they're not at the top of the food chain, which is probably something that we knew. They're probably a tier below Clarksville High, and they're definitely at this point a tier below Rossview as well, because Rossview came against Northwest and beat them 52-0, and 34-8. While it is still a blowout, is not quite on that same level. So I think if you had to kind of tier rank the schools in the area, they're probably somewhere in that third tier of schools, and in that case, it might be tough to make the postseason. They could slide into that number 4 spot. We'll see how their game goes with Kirkwood. They still are yet to play, and I am looking forward to that because I think it's going to tell us a lot about where both of those teams are at this point. But I think it does tell me that the offense still has some room to grow. I mean, 34 points is still a lot. But it is less than what other teams have put up against Northwest. They're kind of a measuring stick for some teams in the area at this point. They held them to 8 points, which is kind of about what Northwest has been scoring against other teams. So I do think that that's kind of my takeaway from this game.
We'll take our final commercial break here on the Montgomery County Football Show. Coming up, Brady will give his Player of the Week award for Week 6 and then go down his matchups of the upcoming week right after this.
If you're looking for a color change, look no further than C Wraps. We're Clarksville's premier vinyl wrap provider, delivering high-quality work and exceptional customer service. We offer a wide range of services, including color change wraps, ceramic coating, paint protection film, and wraps for commercial vehicles. Whether you need a color change on a luxury car or commercial wraps for your business fleet, we have the expertise to handle any project. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. Here at Rock and Roll Sushi, we're proud to be the original American-style sushi restaurant founded on great food and rock and roll music, boasting concepts and flavors that are big, bold, and loud. We're the only place to experience the rock you love and the rolls you love with the ones you love. Come see for yourself why we're the best sushi experience in town. Find us at 108 Morris Road in Clarksville or visit our website at rockandrollsushi.com.
Meet Dr. Casey Sigerson of the Bone and Joint Group, Clarksville's only hand and wrist specialist. He's passionate about getting his patients back to living their life after suffering from an injury or degenerative condition. Dr. Sigerson treats all orthopedic conditions, from injury to recovery, and is dedicated to getting his patients moving again. Whether you need joint arthroscopy, joint replacement, fracture care, or help with a hand or wrist problem, Dr. Sigerson is here to help. Schedule your appointment today at boneandjointgroup.com.
When it comes to insurance, you want a name you can trust. Wendy Danielle Stack is here to help. With over 7 years of experience, Danielle and her team are here to assist you in finding the right coverage for all of your needs. From auto and home to life and business insurance, we have customized options for everyone. We'll work with you to create a personalized plan that protects everything in your life that matters most. Call today and see for yourself why Danielle Stack is the go-to insurance agent in Clarksville.
Watch it! Did that guy even see that girl on her bike?
Just like looking for other cars before switching lanes, drivers should keep their eyes out for those traveling on bikes. When a crash occurs between a vehicle and a bike, it's the cyclist who is most likely to be injured. Give cyclists room and do not pass too closely. Riders have the same rights and responsibilities as those behind the wheel.
Be aware, be alert. Brought to you by THSO, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
Welcome back to the Montgomery Football Wrap-Up Show. I am David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, joined by your man, Brady McAtamney. He's sports editor for Street Clarksville, giving you all the good details of this football season. Brady, let's do the Player of the Week award first for last week, then let's roll into this week's matchups.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, the Player of the Week this week is pretty easy for me. It's going to be James Dalrymple for Clarksville High. The running back, gadget, weapon, had 14 carries for 154 yards. So quick math says that that's over 11 yards per carry. So he had himself county. Just a special game for him. He's a special player, special athlete. He's a great football player, great basketball, or rather great baseball player. And this is a kid that is absolutely a star for CHS, and they're loving having him. And with that CHS team, man, they're so fun to watch because it can be any one guy any given week. You know, it's been Amari Galbraith, it's been James Dalrymple, it's been Ben Moore, it's been Jack Wyatt. I mean, this is just a fun team to watch. And this week it was James Dalrymple absolutely cooking the Cougars. Looking at our games this week, I will save our game of the week for last. And we'll start with Northwest at Clarksville High. Not really a ton to say about this one. It's potentially the worst team in the area versus who is the unquestioned best team in the area, one of the better teams in the mid-state this season. Clarksville High is going to roll in this one. Montgomery Central will be going to Fairview. Maybe they keep this one competitive. I don't think that it'll necessarily be a blowout. But Fairview's a solid enough team. They've played some pretty bad teams this season, and they've beat some bad teams, taken some losses. So maybe Montgomery Central can come out there and surprise them. Maybe they can catch Fairview in a trap game and get the win. Kirkwood is going to Gallatin and facing Liberty Creek, a battle of two, pretty much brand new schools. Liberty Creek just opened last year. They're actually having a pretty decent season this year for a second-year team. So they should give Kirkwood a pretty tough game. I do think Liberty Creek comes out with this one. But I would love to see Kirkwood give them a battle and potentially maybe a little bit of an upset. Up next, Kenwood and Northeast. I talked a little bit about this one in our prior segment. This should be a pretty decent game as far as winless teams go. I know it's kind of like an oxymoron to say that. But these are two teams that are hungry for a win, man. I mean, they're both coached by guys who instill good values in these kids and are just absolutely starving to get this first win of the season. I did pick Kenwood in this game because I do think that they probably have the best unit out of the six between special teams, offense, and defense between these two teams. And I do think that's their offense. Really good quarterback in Jacoby Cox. We'll be able to see what he's able to do against Northeast and their defense that has struggled a little bit this season. And Clarksville Academy is going to Columbia Academy, battle of the CAs. Columbia Academy is a pretty solid team as far as D1A teams go this season. They should be a playoff contender, and I do think that they're going to be able to send Clarksville Academy home with another loss. Now, getting into our Thursday game, Stewart's Creek and West Creek. This should be a relatively easy win for Stewart's Creek. I don't want to say that it's going to be an absolute barn burner in favor of the Redhawks. West Creek could give them a challenge, especially with it being a Thursday game at home. Maybe Stewart's Creek comes in a little groggy after they've played some really, really tough teams. It's possible. I do think that the Redhawks probably win behind offensive coordinator Les Greer, former head coach at Kenwood. But we'll see. I do think the Redhawks win, but West Creek could potentially give them a challenge there on Thursday night. And our game of the week is going to be Dickson County at Rossview. This is a huge, huge game in the region. This is I would probably say it's the second place game. Of course, Clarksville High, that number 1 team, but I do think that these are the next 2 best teams in Region 7-6A. So absolutely thrilled to see what happens with this one. Of course, Rossview looking to keep up that shutout streak. I'd probably say it doesn't stay here, but I thought the same thing about the Kirkwood game. So we will see what happens. I personally just can't wait to see this game, and I think it's going to be a great one. And that is going to do it for the Montgomery County Football Wrap-Up Show. As always, that's been David Wilson, Robertson County Connection Sports Reporter. I'm Brady McAtamney, Montgomery County Sports Editor at Main Street Clarksville, and we will see you at the fields.
You've been watching the Montgomery County High School Football Show with Main Street Clarksville Sports Editor Brady McAtamney and Robertson County Connection Sports Reporter David Wilson. Read this week's Main Street Clarksville for all the latest news about Montgomery County High School sports. The Montgomery County High School Football Show has been brought to you by the Bone and Joint Group of Clarksville, Rock and Roll Sushi of Clarksville, C Wraps of Clarksville, Danielle Stack at Farmers Insurance, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Join us again next week to get all of the latest news about Montgomery County High School football.